Hello and welcome to another episode of the First Assembly Kids Workshop. Once again, it is Jenna Grissom here, and I'm going to be sharing a few things that have benefited me during my childhood and teenage years that may be a helpful perspective for you as a parent to maybe instill and duplicate into your child's life so that they are less peer influenced and more parent influenced. We want our influence to come from Christ and those in our community and those that we fellowship with at church, that we trust, that have good counsel and wisdom. But those that are outside of our Christian family, we know that sometimes their worldview can be a little perverted. It can be a little twisted. It can be a worldview, and a worldview is just your perspective on life, your perspective on your way of living, your morals, why you do what you do, all of those types of things. And so we want our worldview to be one of Christ. We want our image to reflect Christ, not some peer that isn't a Christ follower. And so these are just some things that my parents instilled in me that I chose as a free-willed person, and things that I see with others in our church that are doing this beautifully. Also, if any of these are things you're already doing, go ahead and imagine yourself being hugged by Pastor Brent and Julie and Miss Lacey and I, because we are so proud of you saying no to Satan's schemes and yes to God's plans for your life and for your child's life, because it's a choice. It's a choice to say yes to Jesus and no to Satan. And we have such a loving God who doesn't have a dictatorship relationship with us, but gives us the choice to love him and follow him. So these are a few things that might be beneficial for you. The first thing is telling your kids that, your friends that you have in your life will reflect their future. The saying goes, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. It's a real thing. People get mixed into the wrong crowds, and then they're with those people for so long that it's hard to let go of those relationships. But here's the thing. If they can learn to let go of toxic relationships now, it's going to be easier, so easy for them to do it when they're older, because they're not going to be tied to people. They're going to be tied to Christ, and their identity is going to come from Christ. Their fellowship is going to become from people who are Christ-like minded and not people who are worldly minded. So if you're noticing that your child is making bad choices with friends, blatantly tell them, we're not going to be friends with those people anymore. And it may be sad, it may be difficult to navigate, but, people will make the argument, well, Christ was friends with those that were sinful. And yes, that's true. But he was Christ. He didn't sin, and he wasn't persuaded by them. Your children are in a clay-like mindset at the moment, where they can be easily molded into whatever is happening around them in their environment. They haven't formed all of their basic theological mindsets yet. They haven't formed all of those basic principles on what they believe quite yet, and what they think is right and wrong quite yet. They have a general idea, but it's not fully formed yet. Their minds are like clay. And so whoever's around them is going to be influencing them. And so if we can be mindful of our environment and say, yeah, you can be friendly to those who are not like Christ, but not let your close friends be people who you wouldn't want your child to be. There's a wonderful mentor in a lot of our lives and my family's lives, who said, if you wouldn't hire or be friends with someone, or no, let me rephrase it. They said, imagine this person that you're contemplating whether or not your child should be friends with or whether or not you should be hiring, and then say, would I be proud of this person if they were my kid? If the answer is no, then your child shouldn't be friends with them and you shouldn't be hiring them. So it's just a little perspective there. If you wouldn't be okay with that being your child, try to influence your child to not be friends with those kids, because you want like-minded people around your child. The other thing is getting your kids involved in church, creating friendships, whether that's meeting up with people throughout the week at maybe it's Wednesday nights, or maybe it's different events, or maybe it's a play date with another church family, something to where they can create friendships with other Christians who have the same mindset as them and who live similar lives or who have similar struggles. And then the last thing is, when your child is in high school, influence them to go to a Christian college, or if they don't go to a Christian college, get involved in a Christian group like Chi Alpha, or there are some other Christian groups on different college campuses, so that they aren't being peer influenced while they're in college. We need to be mindful of the environments that our kids are in and be mindful of the people that are pouring into them. And if we feel that it's not good for their well-being, we need to be the spiritual warfare parents that we were created to be for our children, and say no to Satan and say yes to the will of God, which is that we be the protectors, we be the fighters in the home for our kids, and that our kids see that so that they can mimic that in their home, and that it be a generational fight, and not end with you, but end with your kid's kid and your kid's kid and your kid's kid. It keeps going down the line, fighting for your child's spiritual warfare, and not letting peers influence them, but letting you as a Christ follower influence them. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope y'all have an amazing and blessed day. Bye.